How's it going, guys? In this video we're going to be talking about typed dictionaries, and you can import that from the typing module in Python. So why would we want to do that, and what does it actually do? Well, typed dictionaries brings types to dictionaries. So if you want your code editor to help you out with telling you that, okay, your dictionary is not conforming to the correct type, well, that's what typed dictionary is going to do. So for this example, we're going to start off by creating a class called coordinate, and I will indent that, and it should inherit from typed dictionary. Then inside a coordinate, we always want to have an X, and we always want to have a Y, and we might want to have a label as well of type string and a category. So we'll type in category of type string, and that's going to be how we want our coordinate to look. Right now, if we were to create a coordinate and we were to use a dictionary to actually use those values and said X was going to be equal to 10 and not with a semicolon but with a colon, and Y was to be equal to 10 as well, you would see we would get no type hinting here. So we could insert whatever we wanted and it would not conform to the coordinate that we created. And that's bad because now if we insert this coordinate somewhere, we're not going to have the required parameters. So with a type dictionary, we can now say that this coordinate is of type coordinate, and you'll get some syntax highlighting immediately. It's going to say you are missing these keys, label and category. So now we can continue with our keys, and this time you'll notice that the code editor is actually going to help us out by saying, okay, there's a label there. So you can type in label, and you can say who knows what. We can say this is the profit plot, so profit, and we can insert the category. The code editor now has a lot more context on what you're trying to do with that dictionary. So category is going to take finance. So now we created a coordinate that has all the required fields, so we don't have any problems later. But what happens if we do not want to include a field such as category, but we still want the program to say that it's all right, because maybe category is an optional field? Well, let's duplicate this and we're going to call it coordinate2. We're just going to change the values so we can see a difference. We'll say 15 and maybe 25. The label is going to be set to expenses, but this time we're going to exclude the category field. And right now we're going to get that syntax highlighting because we need all of them for the code editor to tell us that it's okay. So if you want to have a field that is not required, you're literally going to have to import from typing the not required type. And with that, you can go to category now and you can type in not required of type string. So now it became an optional string that you can enter for category. So that was a quick intro to using the typed dictionary. But there are some cases that are going to give you a few issues, because sometimes in a dictionary you might want to use a keyword that is reserved by the system, such as for or in. You might want to use these keywords. And in Python, how would you do that if it's already reserved by the system? We don't want to give it any ugly names such as _for, because that looks awful. We want to actually use those. So I'm going to be showing you the second way you can create typed dictionaries. So below this, we can just remove all of that and we can create something called a vote this time, which is going to be a typed dictionary. And here we need to insert the class name or the typed dictionary name. And then the other fields it takes is a dictionary, and it also takes a total, which I will cover in just a moment. But inside here, immediately we can say for is going to be of type integer, and against is going to be of type integer, because we will have people who vote for something and people who vote against something. But again, for is reserved by Python, so we couldn't create a class with it. And the total parameter defines whether all the values should be required or not. By default, it's set to true, so the code editor will suggest that you need all of these values if you want to have a proper vote. Otherwise, if you set this to false, then it's going to say, okay, no matter what you insert, it's going to be okay, as long as it's one of these. But just as with not required, we have something that's called required, and this all belongs to the typed dictionary. So if we actually duplicate this and we call this one vote2, now we have a vote, which will be vote2 as well. It has for, against, with total set to false, but this time we want to have one of these fields required. So here we can type in required, and we will say that that's of type integer. Or of course, if everything is required, you can use the not required keyword the other way around, if this is set to true. So now let's try creating a vote. So we have a vote of type vote, and here we will insert the for, which will be 100, and against, which will be at 250. And we will get no complaints by the code editor there. But if we do omit one of these, we're going to get some syntax highlighting if we have total set to true, which it is by default. But let's go to vote 2. So we'll say vote is of type vote 2. Now, even if total is set to false, we suggested to the code editor that against should be required. So here we can actually replace this with against, and the code editor will say that is fine. You inserted against, that's the only one that's required, so we will say that is fine. But it does not work if we only have for, because with total set to false, we only required against. And also, if you were to type in something random, such as that, it would not pass, even if we had nothing required here. So if we said int, you would see that if you pass in something that does not exist, TypedDictionary will tell you, what are you doing? This is not what we agreed. And it's also worth mentioning that before Python 3.11, you were allowed to use syntax such as this. I mean, just by passing in the names explicitly. This has been deprecated since Python 3.11, so do not use this if you come across documentation that does use this, and they're going to remove it in 3.13. So stick to the nice stuff, which is using a dictionary inside the typed dictionary. And I guess I didn't display what happens when you run this, but it should be straightforward. It's just a dictionary. So if we print this vote, we're going to get for 100 against 100, against 250. It's just a normal dictionary, but now we have type hints for it, which can make it a lot easier for us to debug later. But I would love to hear what you think about this feature in Python. Do let me know in the comment section down below. But with all that being said, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.